Good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to all of you joining us today for two enriching CPD sessions brought to you by S. Chan Publishing. Today, we are diving into the exciting world of science education, where we aim to transform how science is taught, making it engaging, interactive, and deeply rooted in real world applications. We have two incredible sessions lined up today, with the first one beginning shortly and the second one at 4:30 p.m. Our first session titled STEM integration in science teaching. STEM education is at the heart of preparing our students for the future, and this session will provide you with the actionable strategies to seamlessly integrate STEM concepts into your science lessons. You will also discover practical ways to make your teaching more impactful, ensuring that students not only understand scientific principles but also develop critical problem solving and analytical skills. We are honored to have Ms. Surbi Arora with us today as the speaker for this session. Ms. Arora is an award winning edu artist with over 15 years of experience in education. She holds a master's degree in education, chemistry, and English. She is a certified career counselor and instructional designer. She has trained over 10,000 teachers and hosted over 4,000 hours of training. Additionally, she is an alumna of IIM Calcutta and IIT Patna and holds certifications in cybersecurity and blockchain technology. Before we begin, let's take a look at the housekeeping rules for today's session. So, participants will be muted throughout the entire session. Please ensure you have a pen and paper to note important information. The chat box will be only be enabled during the Q&A round and as required by the speaker. To receive your e-certificate, please fill out the feedback form that will be sent to your registered email ID after the session. And don't forget to participate in the quiz today after the second session. Now, please join me in welcoming Ms. Surbi Arora as she shares her invaluable insights into integrating STEM into your science teaching and helping your students become the thinkers, innovators of tomorrow. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Over to you, Surbi ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Vijay. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the session. I can already see a lot of excitement amongst teachers and a lot of good afternoon happening. So welcome, everyone. And here I am. I will be your host for today. And we will go ahead in the journey talking about STEM and STEM integrated learning in a very fantastic way. So welcome, everyone, to the session. Let's do a quick audio check, and I want to see that if you can hear my voice clearly or not. And if you can hear my voice pretty clear, I want you to spell hippopotamus for me in the chat window. So I want you to use the chat window and I want you to give me the spelling of hippopotamus. Okay, so we had the over enthusiastic. I want to see the first one. Kobalsya V. Okay, yes, Kanisha, great. Divisha, Tarun, Premlata, Suman. Okay, I can see. I don't need a yes. I need the spelling of hippopotamus. If you can hear me pretty clear, loud, and with complete tenacity. So let's see. Okay, Rutuja, Vishali, Kanika. Okay, so I can see a lot of teachers and we have a complete house right now. More teachers are joining us. So yes, thank you everyone. Thank you for confirming that you can hear my voice. Okay, so we go to the next question on my screen. There is something written in this on the screen and there is a question there. Just pay attention. There is a task actually. So let's see. Yes, thank you, Nimishi. I want to do a quick check. Suma, great. Srujana, Nitya, nice. So we have teachers from various fields. That's great. Coming in. Kanisha, Pradeep, Balan. Great. So I have Suman. So I have teachers from foundational till grade 12. That's pretty great. And I think it's going to be a good time, good interaction when we will have a lot of variety in terms of ideas coming up in the session today because of different levels of grades that we are going to talk about. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the learning outcomes that I'm expecting from today's session and give clarity to all of you. Well, in today's session, you will be able to talk about define STEM and explain its importance in modern education. That's what we are going to do. We are also going to talk about effective strategies and integrating STEM within science lessons. We will talk about some STEM-based activities and connection with real world and like a type of questioning techniques that teachers can develop habit of using in the classrooms, which can be useful for you on day-to-day basis. So that's what we are trying to achieve in today's session, and these will be the outcomes. So here we go ahead and we'll begin with our introduction to STEM education. Now, I see, good afternoon, everyone. I think we had a lot of good afternoons. We'll go ahead now. Now, when we talk about STEM, each letter stands for a school subject, and I want you to guess that what they are, what each letter of STEM means. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of teachers who are already well versed with what is the session about, and but there are maybe a lot of you who are talking about the subject for the first time. So let's see. So somebody says science, technology, English, math. Some say science, techno, math. Okay. I have some good answers coming up. I have English, applied maths. Okay, fine. Okay, so when somebody is correcting also, I can see. So I can see a lot of answers, and I think even you have visibility of the same kind of answers that I'm looking at right now. Okay, so now let's see. When we talk about STEM, majority of you are correct, and now while the answers are coming up, now the correct answers have started coming up. I'm always worried that you are not using Google or some other place to give me answers that quickly. But let's see. Now, when we talk about STEM, and it's the whole acronym is about 4 subjects, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, you must be wondering that engineering is not part of the regular curriculum. Yes, it's not, but the way the new education policy has been integrated, STEM becomes an important part of the curriculum, and engineering is just not about talking about big machines when it comes to engineering. Any kind of designing, any kind of development or product formation that we do is part of engineering. And there are various versions of it. So engineering is more about designing products or things which can reduce the human effort. That's what we talk about. I could have given the definition from Three Idiots also right now. I think that should have worked better. But yes, it's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Many times you would have heard about the word STEAM, not as in water, paper, vapor, and steam, but capital S, capital T, capital E, capital A, and capital M. Now, when we talk about STEAM, we're actually talking about subject arts specifically over there. And that's when we talk about art integration and STEM education. So that's STEAM. So today we are just focusing on STEM, and we will not be talking about STEAM. But however, when you enter into designing, a lot of artwork also comes in, which you can integrate as part of your STEAM education also, in case your school is following that. We go ahead, and I have a quick question again for all of you. What does STEM mean to you? So I have to ask you this one simple question, that what does STEM mean to you? And I would like you to just mention your name in one word and the concept in your mind that comes when you think about STEM. What's the concept that comes in your mind? Okay, Vishali has one answer, very quickly given. So I have holistic creativity. Okay, I'm not going to say answers all of a suddenly, otherwise you start copying them. Okay. Nagaraj is giving me answer. Okay, I need your name, and then you can just mention the word that comes in your mind when we talk about STEM. Okay. So we need 1 or 2 words. Let's not stick to sentences. Okay. So we're talking about creativity, we're talking about art, we're talking about integration, research and development, innovation. Then I have a lot of subjects coming in. Okay. So, but innovation is something which a lot of you are talking about, and creativity is another thing. Holistic development is another thing which a lot of teachers are talking about. Yes, research. Great. So, a lot of us are agreeing to the part of innovation and creativity and subject integration when we talk about STEM. Now let's talk and understand the difference between STEM and STEM integration. The whole session is about integrating STEM as part of the curriculum and how can we do that. Now, when we talk about STEM integration, it is teaching content across disciplines with intention and purpose to solve real world problems. When I pick up something in a way that I'm going to connect multiple subjects around it, that's basically known as integration. Now, as a science teacher, when you're doing it, your basic tool is that you want to integrate as part of the science curriculum that you're teaching in classrooms. And many times, if it's not fitting in the class curriculum, we are slightly not okay in using that particular template or activity or any kind of event that we are planning to do. Now, STEM teaching is more about like an isolated subject. We'll pick up on something and start working on it. However, STEM integration will pick up on one or two more subjects and interwoven them. So let's talk with an example I have kept for you over here. Now, when we talk about pollution, specifically here, in case of science, I will talk about, air and water quality. In when I'm talking about math, that is math, we are talking about measuring how many pollution levels are there. When we talk about tech or technology, we'll use sensors or apps for that data. And when we talk about engineering, we'll be talking about designing a pollution filter or awareness tool. Now, let's take one more example. Like recently, we all have been talking about an interesting thing, which has been AQI levels. Now, I don't know if you're aware, but what is the AQI level in your city? Like I'm going to mention mine for all of you over here. In my city, I saw it was recently 75, I think so. But that's how the different kind of AQI levels that we have. And okay, I'm sure you have to 220, and I think anything beyond 100 is already alarming. But we had rains. I think that's the reason it's 75. But when we talk about AQI, yes, so it can be variable. Now, supposingly, I'm picking up a topic like AQI. I will have the science concept of pollution and the pollutants. I will have a mathematical concept of numbers. I will have a technology of using apps and just kind of knowing about it. So when I'm integrating various subjects and then talking about the same level with my students, it is more about integration around that subject that I'm trying to build up. So that's what we try and do when it comes to STEM integration. So we have to understand one statement very clearly, that STEM in education is not about teaching the four subjects in isolation. So you cannot do like that you can talk to a science teacher that, okay, ma'am, I'm going to do this subject. And the math teacher says, okay, I'm doing this topic. And then all four of you together says, okay, that STEM education is done in the school. No, it does not work like that. You will pick up the same agenda, the same topic, and there will be four different insights which are there from different subjects that come in. In order to call an activity STEM, please remember at least two subjects must be covered. So if you're not able to cover all four in a particular context, usually when the activities are designed in a beautiful manner and in a perfect manner, they have all four subjects there in terms of integration. But if you're not able to do it, please remember minimum two subject is bare necessity when we talk about STEM integration. So you have to remember this thing. It's about teaching the four, not teaching the four subjects in isolation, but about integrating them meaningfully to solve problem, design solutions, and innovate. You're not just going to do it for the sake of doing, you are generally going to try and solve a problem when we are working in STEM integration. Okay, so we'll go ahead and talk about things. I will try to be slow now because we have done with the welcome part and we're trying to understand all the topics in detail. If you feel you want me to repeat on something, if there are any questions, feel free to use the chat window. Otherwise, we'll have some question and answer round in the last 5 minutes of the session. Now, let's start from here and let's go ahead. Okay. Now, I have another thing. What is your understanding? Your understanding, is STEM good or bad for our classrooms? What do you think? Is STEM a good thing or STEM a bad thing for our classrooms? Okay. So I have a lot of teachers, Rumpa, Vishwari, Bridge, and Vasant, Farida, everyone saying very good, and very good. Okay, definitely good. So I have a lot of people saying a lot of things and awesome. Okay, that's beautiful. So we all have consensually all together, we all are agreeing to that it's good for a classroom. If that is the case, I have another question for all of you. If it is good, why we still don't have integrated in our classrooms. I travel a lot, guys. Don't tell me that, ma'am, you've already done. I have a lot of teachers from various schools in the country, pretty sure. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you have still not integrated STEM in the classrooms. So can you tell me that why still a lot of classrooms are not integrated? Okay. Lack of knowledge is there. So Farida says lack of resources is one answer I'm getting. Lack of knowledge, lack of training, lack of planning is another thing that I am actually getting as an answer. Time, many people are counting about time. Sujit is saying fear. Fear of the unknown, I would agree. Updation, training. I think that's great that we're having this training today then. Hurry in the completion of syllabus. Yes, yes, yes. That's all over our head. Ki syllabus kaise khatam kar dein jaldi jaldi. So that keeps on happening. Then let's finish the syllabus as soon as possible. I can understand that feeling. Not all children are well benefited. Now that can be discussed, but maybe at a later stage. Lack of clarity, sufficient time and resources. So all of you agree that yes, it is good, but then the problem is that we are not able to focus on it because of a lot of constraints that we have with respect to time, resources, and availability of everything. So I have kind of noted few pointers where we felt that these are the problems that we see why teachers are not able to integrate STEM. First, like the way all of you said, lack of training, and now the solution is to provide workshops, mentorships, or model lessons. Now, in the world of AI, in the world of where things are changing so drastically and technology is available, I think all of us can have a lot of resources which are available on internet. I would suggest you can go for some online courses which are available on really good platforms. They're available for free, and you can just go there and take some STEM courses if you genuinely want to study about it. So maybe Coursera or other platforms, they provide some kind of STEM courses which teachers can take completely for free of cost. So that's one thing. The second part is on the basis of time constraint. Yes, you can use them only if you have integrated them well into your present lessons. So when you're making your annual lesson plan, you have to make sure that you are counting, okay, this particular lesson, I will try and integrate a STEM activity over there. So that's another way you can actually save your time and you can integrate activities over there. Resource limitation, I would rather say every time you're planning on these resources, I would say that use recycled material as much as possible that you can use. And then fear of interdisciplinary, start small with co-teaching or topic mapping. So it's better that you can just form groups of teachers. Somebody is focused on grade 6, 7, and then you can just combine grades and work together. And even if you are different teachers in different sections of a school, I would rather say you can combine together and do it. Now you're asking me the courses. I would say that last I saw Udemy and Coursera had some courses, and even edX, the platform, they have some free courses for teachers. Harvard, MIT has some free courses for teachers on STEM education. These are the platforms you can refer to, and you will find some free courses, which will at least give you the foundation of STEM education. And we all have been learning from these platforms. So maybe don't they ask for money if you want certificate, but if you want to just do learning, just go there and have those courses. Okay, I hope I've answered your question. Pritika is saying she can't hear me, but others, can you hear me clearly? Just give a thumbs up, I will understand. Yes. Okay. Pritika, you have to check your internet in that case. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Now, let's go ahead. And I have kept a segment of myths and misconceptions in STEM for all of you. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you some 3 to 4 questions, and you have to just mention T for true in the chat window and F for false in the chat window. Whatever is your understanding. Now, this will help me in understanding that what is your understanding on STEM at a level. So it's kind of a pretest for all of you. Now, let's go here and see. The first question says, STEM is only for students who want to become scientists or engineers. Will you mention it as a T, true, or F, false? Okay, I'm looking at answers just floating in continuously. Okay, I will wait for another 2 seconds or 5 seconds. Great. So I have had a lot of answers chiming in, and I think because a lot of teachers are doing simultaneous answers, it may take time. So that's okay. But majority of you have answered F, false. Few of the teachers have mentioned T. Let me say what I would like to say. False. The statement is completely incorrect. Skill sets such as critical thinking, thinking are valuable for everyone in a wide range of careers, and it has nothing to do with that only if you want to become an engineer or a scientist, you will go into STEM education. No, it's not at all related. I will just show you certain careers after a while where STEM is used in majority of the platforms. So we'll talk about it. Let's talk about the next question, which says, STEM activities are too difficult for young children. Do you say a true or a false statement, according to you? Is it too difficult for young children? Okay. So again, I'm getting in this one, I think I have a 60-40 ratio approximately if my eyes are calculating the numbers pretty fast. So almost 60% teachers are saying that the statement is false and 40% teachers are saying that it's true. So that's what I'm getting as numbers. Now let's talk about what I have to say. The statement is false. STEM can be introduced at any age using age appropriate activities that build foundational skills. So you don't have to wait for a child to grow up. Even there are programs where we start STEM education at foundational level and for preschoolers. My daughter was in grade, I think, kindergarten when we started working on STEM activities with her, and they do a pretty good job altogether, my son and my daughter. So I think it works perfectly fine for the kids, and we have practiced them with multiple other students also. Now, the next question for you is, you have to be a math genius to succeed in STEM. You have to be a math genius. A lot of teachers and a lot of people have this conception in their mind. Will not declare it the answer till now, but that you have to be very good in technology, in coding. For instance, people think technology is just talking about coding, and many people think it's a lot of about advanced level math when we are talking about STEM education. So yes, the answer is no. The answer is false. While math is an important part, but it's not about math education. When we talk about math, it's in a lot of activities that we work in STEM with children, at least at school level. Math is at a very base level of basic calculations, data management, drawing graphs, or just consolidating data. That's how math is used in multiple places. Now, I believe this is I think the second last question we have. And hands-on learning improves STEM understanding. We need hands-on learning. So I think this is a pretty obvious answer and a question, and I will not spend a lot of time on this one for sure. So yes, this is a true statement. Hands-on learning genuinely actually increases your STEM understanding, like experiments, projects help students apply theoretical knowledge, and they understand the comprehension level and retention at a better level. And finally, the last question for all of you. The demand for STEM jobs is increasing worldwide. Do we all agree or we don't agree to it? Is it true? Is it false? Yes. So we all agree to yes, the STEM education is actually becoming very high in demand. For instance, like one of my friend works in a visa organization, and then she was talking about that majority of universities, if you're applying in countries abroad, and if you are applying for courses in STEM education, there are more chances that you get a visa pretty fast and the course pretty fast because STEM education just is so much in demand and people are ready to get students who are ready to work in STEM sector. So, and the irony is that already a lot of jobs are there in STEM sector, but we don't have right set of employees ready to work in that direction. That does not mean teachers that you are thinking about a change in profession. It's more about the futuristic careers that we're talking about right now. Now, when we talk about examples of STEM education, so that's why I was talking about that. Let me show you a lot of fields, how it is related. So when we talk about science, concepts like chemistry, oceanography, astronomy, anatomy, all kind of subjects can be brought together in one segment and can be integrated in STEM. Similarly, AI, digital media, coding, robotics, or aerospace, electrical, biomedical engineering, and then statistics, algebra. So depending on what level and what complexity are you working in STEM classes, there can be different subjects which can be brought together and we can work around with students in that category. There are a few more topics that I wanted to show you, that careers, that just because you want to be an engineer, STEM is not important. Even a person like food taster or cryptozoologist, or we talk about an urban farmer, even if they are trained in advance through STEM education, we develop a good set of skill sets in them, which help them in understanding STEM and developing skills that will be useful at a better level in near future. So let me show you with one example, this particular thing. For instance, before we go into that segment, just a quick revision of the theory. STEM is not a very old concept. However, earlier, before the whole, the structured education was there, let's talk about someone like Aristotle. He used to study biology, he used to study math, he used to talk about, even poetics in English. So earlier, the education was more integrated, but then we decided and we distributed all the subjects and thought about specialization. Now, it does not work in that way either. So now, when we talk about all these subjects at in a wholesome level, um, the whole how the traditional education is different from STEM education. In traditional education, we talk about content. Here, we are more interested in the process. I will showcase two processes to you. One is a scientific theory that we talk about, and the other is engineering design. So sorry, my second screen is kind of okay. We talk about engineering design and scientific, application or investigation. But earlier we were more focused on rote learning, but now it's more inquiry and discovery. I was comparing the curriculum that I have studied in schools yesterday only compared to what the kids are studying these days. It's way ahead of time. And isolated subjects, we talk about interdisciplinary connections, and we had predefined solutions, but now the inquiry-based mechanism, the STEM education, it all talks about that do not provide the answers to your students. Just talk about you don't have to give the answers, you have to give them the direction. So we talk about more of deducing the answers instead of telling them the answers in this stage. So that's the difference that we have entered into at a lot many levels. Now, talking about benefits of STEM education, we'll quickly do it. We have critical thinking, we have confidence, we talk about curiosity. A lot of C's get covered up when we are studying STEM education. We talk about creativity, collaborative or teamwork, and then we talk about innovation. So we are generally covering all the 5 C's, and we are also, digging deep into innovation when we talk about STEM education. Now, what we will try to go ahead with, because we have finished, half of our session. Now we are going to go up with some examples and talk about more in detail about certain pedagogies and theories of how you can apply in the classrooms. Before we go ahead, I would like to quickly ask, okay, let me ask this question once we start with it. Now, I just want you to look at all the pedagogical strategies I've mentioned on the screen. Can you just tell me, are you aware about it or you are not aware about it? Or if something that you're not aware about, if you can mention in the chat section. STEM picks up on certain pedagogical strategies that are applied in the classroom. Most of you are. Great. If you're not aware about any particular thing that's written on the screen, it will just give me a moment to just explain it. The make a moment. Okay. Okay. Last one, use of edtech tools for design data visualization. Okay. Fine. So what we will just, okay, so let's talk about the last two. I believe most of you are aware about the first four. So we have a lot of pedagogical approaches or strategies we can go ahead, but like inquiry, problem-based, collaborative, hands-on simulation. Now, when we talk about maker movement and prototyping, it's more about this whole strategy of a lot of tools coming in market. You have 3D printers these days, you have 3D pens these days, and a lot of stuff where we allow students to make complete prototypes of the designs they're about to create. The other day, I was also going through certain softwares which talk about that we can give this 3D visualizations of structures and students can actually use them. Now, when we talk about, again, the edtech tool, so IBM has one tool which is pretty useful. You can just search for IBM tools for 3D designs. Then there are organizations which are into 3D design. So a lot of tools are not free, but they have some version where you can make one or two designs free of cost. And I think in a year we don't focus on more than two STEM activities or four STEM activities in the school curriculum. So that should be sufficient at a school level or at a student level that you're working on. Then we talk about data visualization. So we tools like Power BI or Tableau these are more efficient if you start using them at grade 9 onwards. It has to be very strong training if you're doing it grade 6 onwards. So these tools can be useful. And yes, when we talk about coding, that code.org and Scratch Junior, these particular tools can be used from the very beginning with your children. You can help them out. So whatever, so if you're doing a complete project, the project introduction and project details can be used with these tools. So these can be used in the beginning. Yeah. So when we talk about maker movement, we're talking about 3D printing and 3D pens, that kind of tools which are there, which can be used. Depends on, so if a lot of you must be having Atal labs in case you have in your schools. In those labs, I have seen that most of the schools are carrying the 3D printers also. So maker movement talks about that category of tools also. Or we at times use thermocols to do the basic sketch designing for our students if we don't want to use expensive tools. So supposingly you are saying, okay, I will make a prototype of, I want to do a new wheelchair design. Now the whole prototype is actually made with certain low budget tools. It can be cardboard, it can be anything. That is basically known as prototyping and make a moment. Whatever is the actual product, you try to create a low budget product for it. That's what we do. Okay, thank you. Now let's talk about and move ahead in that section. For instance, the models and frameworks of STEM teaching, if we talk about. Now there are 5E model plus STEM. When we talk about STEM education, if you're making your lesson plan, now these all tools are more useful when you're doing your lesson planning for a day or for the whole curriculum. So we use the 5E model talking about engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. This goes in a sequence. You start with engaging your children, bringing them some interesting activities. The other day, I did an activity. I will tell you about that activity. We designed an airplane, a paper airplane, which can travel in the fastest way. Now, first we did was we went through a lot of videos in terms of the word records of paper airplanes activities. Then we started making the prototyping and design, and we went through certain videos talking about what is a drag, what is a lift, how does a airplane works. That is more of explore section. And then in explain section, you talk about different models of how can we design a paper plane in a great way. Most of the time, you just focus on engage, and explore, explain, and elaborate is done by your students only. You just keep on giving them some hints, and they keep on exploring, and they keep on coming back to you with the information that they have gathered. And finally, how do you evaluate? Okay, you have created an air paper plane, but how do you evaluate it's a good one? So you run a paper airplane competition, and you check the time and the speed and the distance it's covering, and based on that you do your evaluation, and the whole data is maintained in terms of a chart. That is another way that we can do it. Similarly, in case of design thinking, I will give you an example. So supposingly you have a project you're talking about. Okay, there's an old lady who cannot bend by herself, but you need to create a tool for her so she can actually pick up things from the floor without bending. So that is part of design thinking process. Similarly, you will have a lot of problem statement now and design thinking, and then but the difference I will bring forward to you in between design thinking and engineering design is that we are talking more about empathy in design thinking. And engineering design, we are talking more about the problem statement. That's one major difference. And then T-shaped skills, I will just keep it here. We have not started using a lot in schools, but then I'm just keeping for your reference. When you're at advanced level of STEM education, you can try it. Basically, you combine a lot of subjects together, and a lot of interdisciplinary stuff with one deep level subject. So one subject will be at deep level, and then you will combine bits and bits of other subjects. That's how you do it. Let's take one example. First, let's understand the strategy of different kind of tools, and then we will learn with one example. Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead. Now, how many of you are aware of scientific method? Before I should have not shown you the image, but how many of you are aware of what is a scientific method? Okay, Tanvi says she knows about it. Okay. Some of you are aware. Fine. Not aware. Cosima is letting me know. Good. Okay, so let me just tell you. So when you go for your thesis, when you go for your research work, the approach that we follow in our in our masters or in our PhD in doing any kind of research is basically the scientific method. That how do you solve a problem? Now, if you would have gone through the books and the recent curriculum change, the whole curriculum is talking about the scientific method. You will repetitively see in books the words like hypothesis. You will talk about observation skills, running inferences. Now, if you remember, I will give you one interesting example. When we used to be young, in our college days, I remember when I was doing my pharmacy, I remember we used to do a lot of titrations. I'm pretty sure if science teachers are there, you would have done a lot of titrations in the labs. And when you're running the titration, what you have to do is you have to find the endpoint in a titration setup. So usually the child who is a very smart one in the child will run the titration and there is an endpoint and the value will come. Now the teacher says, okay, this is good and it's done. So rest the whole class, we will just quickly run the titration till the level the endpoint is about to reach, and we'll stop the burette at exact that level so that drop by drop, the liquid starts floating in or the solute and the solvent starts floating in. Now, why we used to do that? Because if you go to the teacher and tell them that I've done the titration and your endpoint is incorrect, they will cancel your complete experiment and you get a big zero. All the years we were not allowed to run an experiment where the result is not okay. So the result was already predefined that if you're doing this experiment, this result has to come. So that was something which we were told. Now, when we talk about scientific method, it's completely opposite. It says it's okay, you can get a wrong result, but you have to go back and check that what better you could have done to achieve a better result, or your inference has to be in that method. Yes. So now let's understand, yes, error and trial, and then accepting that there can be bad results. So that's the change we are going to talk about. So when we talk about STEM, there are two kind of methods. You understand scientific method, but we will be in STEM, we follow engineering design. But I'm just giving you a bit of an awareness about scientific method. In scientific method, you will observe something, you will run an hypothesis. That hypothesis is just a theory that, okay, this is not working properly. Maybe this is the reason behind it. You test it with an experiment, you collect data to validate your statement. Now, if the data supports it, you communicate that, okay, this is the solution. If it does not support it, you go back and you revise the hypothesis and you run the test all over again with new changes. That's scientific method. However, when we talk about STEM education and engineering design, there is a change in your approach when you will be working with your children. So supposingly, you and your students together will define a problem in creating a science curriculum. We'll do it with an example. Just let's wait for another I think 5 or 7 minutes, and we'll enter into an example for the same. So you and your students together will actually define a problem, that this is a problem that we are trying to solve. And then you will run some research on it, that, okay, this is the kind of research I'm going to work around on this particular problem that we are about to solve. You brainstorm, you conceptualize, you will make some pointers. Okay, these are the 10 points, these are the 15 points, and these are the points together that we have gathered. After that, you create a prototype. Now, prototyping is a very important part in the engineering design process, which is a part of the STEM education and science integration we talk about. Why it is important? You have to make your children understand. Now, supposingly, if I intend to create a car, I will not go ahead and bring up all kind of materials and start making a car. I will first make a paper design, and then I will just go and use some digital tools. I will make a digital design, and then I will test my digital design through certain simulations. Then I will just make a design out of fabric or some kind of vinyl material to test all the kind of aerodynamics it's working on, and see if it's a good design or not. Once it's okay, then I finalize and then I go ahead and make my final product. So you have to understand that prototyping is done in order to just save a lot of budgets in terms of expenses that we may incur. So what you make them understand is, okay, also you can have multiple type site. Okay, this is prototype 1, this is prototype 2, this is prototype 3, and then see which of the one of them is successful and which one is failing, and then pick up on the one which is the most successful one. That's also a way in which we can work around with our products. Then select and finalize, product analysis, improve, and then we again follow the cycle if there is nothing that we can see is working. So the circle keeps on continuing. If I have to tell you the major differences between both of them, now The common part is scientific method and engineering design process. Both of them talk about that how we can improve the final product at the end, and we are aiming at solving problems. However, the first one, when we were talking about, we were more interested in hypothesis, picking up data, laying out experimentation. So if you remember, there has been a very famous experiment that we used to have in our books, which used to talk about, okay, there are four potted plants, and you have planted four plants. Now, one plant, keep it in shade, one plant, keep it in humid environment, one plant, you keep it in sun, one plant, you keep it in damp, and then see and check their growth rate. Now, that is known as a scientific method or scientific investigation, where you're going to observe and then run your analysis. Now, when we talk about the section of design process, we're talking more about defining a problem, we're looking into some data, and then we make some designs and make changes in the designs again and again to get the final design, which is a very good final product. I hope I'm clear and you're understanding everything till now. Okay, so let's look at some examples to understand it in a better way. Before that, why do we have science as the anchor subject? Let's understand in what way. The foundation for inquiry is based on asking how and why. Second, the natural phenomena and principles to explore are there. And the content knowledge upon engineering and technology are all applied based on what when the science says the why and how. So that's why it becomes important to have science as an anchor subject. Science is not a subject, it's a driver that provides the context, problems, and purpose for integration. And that's why understanding the role of science in STEM becomes extremely important. Let's learn of how do we create a lesson. You can just take a screenshot of this one if you want. This can be useful for you. The first one is you will pick up a real world problem. That's one thing that you're going to pick up. Then you will try and assign a competency that is as per the NEP curriculum. You will try and competency along with it. So you can think about the real world problem in a better way. You map the STEM connections, like what are my science concepts? What are the tech tools I'm talking about? You're going to think about the engineering tasks that you're going to work upon and the math applications. So basically, you talk about apps, sensors, websites associated with it, the design build, the math applications, everything associated with the STEM connections. Then we use a 5E model, which is talking about engage. Then we talk about elaborate, and then we have various steps in our 5E model that you will be working on it. And finally, an assessment using rubrics or presentations or prototypes. Let's go and look into this example for you to understand. What I've done is I've picked up an example from the topic of friction for grade 5 and 6 for your reference. Let's see this one. You can take a screenshot of this as well for you to understand. So for instance, the first step is that I will just work on the topic, friction and forces. My problem is how can we design a shoe sole that prevents slipping on wet floors? So that's my real world problem. Now, how do I solve it? My students will investigate and they will do some research, different materials and different textures. So there's a problem that I've given them. Now, this is a very basic activity that you can give them in the classroom, that how can you actually design it? So they have to go and they have to investigate different kind of materials and come back and you have to write about those materials. So you're covering your materials chapter also, you're covering your friction chapter also altogether. Then you ask them to design a model for the shoe with the best grip. So they will understand the curves, that why they are up there in the sole and all those curves. And you will ask them to use rubber bands and various things to design the sole shape. Then we use data to measure. Now, measure the angle of inclination at what the shoe model starts to slide on different surfaces. So what we do is we create a testing environment where you create an inclined plane and then students start moving the material. And that's how we watch through stopwatch and ramps and other things, that how the friction works and this activity works in the friction environment. So that's one way in which we can run a STEM process while we are solving a problem. Let's see few more things in the same segment. So this is one example that I've given you. Now, when you are into a school setup, you're expected that you should have your report cards mentioning about how students have performed in various activities. Then what do we do in that case? We talk about product-based prototypes, models, coding projects. We talk about process way like observation of teamwork, iteration, collaboration, how you have actually worked in all this together. Then students are given marks based on the portfolio. So you can actually maintain student journals talking about the work in STEM that they have done. and their lab notebooks. We usually say that preferably a science journal can be kept where all these records are maintained. And then a lot of reviews can be done based on peer reviews and teacher rubrics. So we can do a lot of peer reviews. We can also do a teacher rubrics, which is assessing all the skills that you are actually mentioning over there. So that's one way in which assessments can be added in the STEM section in the classrooms. Now, we have 5 more minutes to go, 10 more minutes. And let's talk about another section and some activities that you can actually take up in the classrooms for practical ideas. So I've kept over here, one is grade 1, 2, you have built a bug hotel. Now this may look crazy, but there are projects where you can ask your children, okay, now you want to save, have a bug hotel, or you want to make some kind. So this is more in the younger grades. So we are talking about things which are okay for them, grade 1, 2. So we are talking about material that you have to make an ant house, you have to make a bug house, or you want to make a shelter house for an animal or a pet. And then you want to create an environment which can survive tornadoes, survive cyclones, earthquakes, and the animal is secure. So that kind of environment that you have to create. So that's one thing that we do. A rainwater harvesting system is a very basic one, which most of you would have done. Similarly, a solar oven that you would have done in your classrooms. Now, I'm not at all saying that solar oven and rainwater harvesting are not STEM activities. They are STEM activities. They are practical problems that we are solving through some technology and some integrating of engineering. Now, then we talk about bridge design. Now, this is an interesting one. So you can have a bridge design challenge done with your children. Now, first, the right way to do it is that when we follow the 5E model, you start with showing them a lot of designs of various bridges which are existing in the world globally. So you can begin with showing them various forms of designs, various kinds of bridges which are there, and ask them if they have some ideas around it. That's where we can start. Now, and then we can talk about the material that they're going to use. So the first thing, so let's go back into the same structure that we had over here. So I have my problem that I have to design a bridge, which talks about various designs. And then we are trying to solve a problem. We are trying to create a bridge which can survive a lot of natural disasters. That's what we try to do. Now, that's where we can start from. And then the design challenges that students are using various materials such as popsicles or sticks or a lot of other materials to design the bridge. And then how do I measure that my bridge is surviving all the adversities or not? So in that particular case, when I want to check if my bridge is surviving all the adversities or not, what exactly you do over there is you make your children keep certain figurines or certain weights on the bridge and tell them, okay, this is the amount of weight your bridge should survive. If it's able to survive that bridge, then we are okay in passing the bridge. If it's not able to survive, it means the material was not able to clear the test. Now, when such activities are added, then they're able to judge the turnaround or judge what they have created in a better way. So the most important part that you have to remember is that your students should be able to talk about designs, but also measure the outcome. Now, many times the STEM activities teachers turn out to be more of art activities in classroom. Please remember, it should never happen the STEM activities turn into art activities. You should have a well-defined, measurable stuff that if you're making a bridge, okay, what is the weight the bridge should be able to tolerate? That's one thing. If you're making a airplane, paper airplane, what is the what is the distance minimum the plane should travel? If you're making a tower, what is the environment in terms of air or the storm or the height or the material that you can use? So there has to be certain rules in terms of what is allowed and what is the passing test. If test to pass is not there, then you will have a lot of projects which look visually very nice, but then they have no use at all in the classrooms. Now, a lot of you are excited about the link. I think you have to wait slightly more before the team starts sharing the link with you. I think they will be providing you a link with another couple of minutes. You have to be patient in that way. Now, when we talk about science, now science is the why in STEM. That's one thing we need to understand, that why we talk about science again and again. I'm going to revise on certain facts. One, science is basically, we are talking about inquiry. Why does something happen? That's when we talk about science. Engineering builds a solution. Now, in the engineering segment, we are talking about the solution part, that okay, this is a problem, but how do I solve this problem is my engineering part. Now, with technology, we are basically with technology, we are able to find a section of experimentation, that how do I experiment on this section? How do I use technology? That's what we do. And finally, math helps me to quantify all the data, that what are my scientific results, what kind of data is present. So math gives me that quantification. So all these four subjects together into STEM integration helps us into deep dive into learning, and we need to understand the role of each and every subject in a correct manner. And finally, the last thing which I get from a lot of teachers, that do I need to have a curriculum when it comes to STEM? Every time you are entering into classroom, do you have to create a detailed lesson plan and then go into the classroom, or there's some other way? I think there is last thing which I would like to add is the prompts that you can use for the classrooms. Like for instance, am I going to give students the opportunity to ask and investigate questions? These are the questions you should be asking yourself while you are doing it. For instance, what kind of investigating opportunities you're going to give to your children? Are you going to define every problem for them? Now, do my students ever design or build something to solve a real world problem? Most of the designings that we do, they are able to get all the answers from YouTube or other places. I think you can use your school campus. You can identify problems over there. In one of the schools we were running, so they had a problem inside the class, that okay, the lecture board gets a lot of sunlight from outside, which kind of reduces our visibility of when we're looking at the lecture board. Can you design a solution in the classroom that the reflection of sunlight is not causing a lot of disruption on the lecture board? So this was one of the school from Indore, I believe, when we were working on STEM, that we came up with this question and this solution over there. Then we had another thing, do my students ever design how am I helping my students see the connection between science, math, and technology? That connection first you need to understand, only then you can help your children. And finally, do my assessment capture thinking? Does it capture, process? Does it capture creativity? That's another segment that we talk about. And we are not focusing just on correct answers. We're talking about the whole process in that journey. So yes, that was teachers talking about STEM integration in science and a lot of STEM session that we are talking about. I would love to take questions if you have any kind of questions now from all of you.
Participants, if you have any questions that you want to ask related to the session, you can type your question in the chat box.
Is there any age limit? If you're asking this question, age limit in order to do this? No, there's no age limit. You can start at any age. Even a child of 2 years of age can start. It's more on the parent and the instructor that how do you take forward towards it. No, you don't need to integrate a STEM lab. It's not compulsory. You can have STEM using basic material which is available around you, and you don't have to increase the cost. We are India. We are full of jugards in the whole country, and I think most of the teachers are aware about it, and teachers are the best people who know that without a pen also how to check a paper. Can you give some example of edtech tools, ma'am? Okay, so to begin with, you can use FET, has a lot of ideas. CK12 is another one. I'm going to type a few for you in the chat window that you can see. I'm sorry, just a second. CK12 is another one, and then STEM.org, something not working. STEM.org.uk is another one. So there are three of them I've given you. You have to do some research and find the one which is most suitable, uh, one for your classes that you can just bring forward over there. Any other
Uh,
questions?
So, ma'am, we are getting like so much positive feedback about your session. Like the session was really very insightful and like knowledgeable. So thank you to all of you for your thoughtful participation during this session with Ms. Surbi Arora. We hope that the strategies and the tools shared today inspire you to bring STEM into your classrooms in fresh and exciting ways. Ayush, thank you to Ms. Arora for taking the time to share your wealth of knowledge and expertise with us. Your practical insights on integrating STEM into science teaching were incredibly valuable. All participants will receive a certificate for today's session on their registered email IDs once the feedback form is submitted. Please keep an eye on your inbox and spam both, as the feedback form will be shared with you by Monday. But don't go anywhere. We still have another exciting session coming up at 4:30 p.m. where we'll dive into hands-on and experiential learning in science. And here is something exciting. Right after the second session, the CPD quiz will also go live. It's your chance to reflect on today's learning and stand a chance to win Amazon vouchers worth up to 10,000. So don't miss out. Stay with us till the end and give it your best shot. Take a short break and rejoin us for more inspiration and valuable strategies to make your science lessons come alive. Thank you so much, Surbhi ma'am, for your insightful session.
Thank you. Can I answer one question? I
Yeah,
think there's
surely you can answer.
if somebody asked me about biology, is it useful? I would just give you an example. There are concepts of biomimicry, which can be used, and people can actually, students, you can work with students and create environments. Biomimicry is one of the concepts which soldiers and which, the whole defense industry uses and understands from. The second one, like beak shapes or claw shapes. So how animal shapes or animal objects are used in technology of or inspiring technology in creating ideas. So that's another area where you can just dig deep into. That's all. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. Have a good day and all the best for your next session and quiz. Thank you.